Hey guys, what's going on? It is Laura and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be doing this video that you all have been asking me about, and this is in reference to the hiring process for a 911 dispatcher. You all have been asking me about the panel interview in addition to the polygraph, and I am going to help you out with that today. I know previously I had shared with you all that I was in the hiring process for two local agencies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I opted to Hey, I opted to take another position with another company, another organization, nothing to do with 911. But I know that I am still obligated by that NDA or the non disclosure agreement that I signed with the agency that I was applying for in Dallas. Hey, Avanti. Well, not in Dallas, but in the Dallas area. So now, like I told you all before, I was a dispatcher previously, so I don't remember signing a non-disclosure agreement that time. So what I'm gonna do with you all is kind of go back. Now this was like a few years ago, about 2.5 years ago when I did this. So I tried to remember what I could and write it down for you all so that I can help you out. And if you have any questions while this video is up, then just let me know. Thank you for doing this all the way. Oh, thank you so much, Jen. And I don't even have my makeup today. Like, look, I'm at work. Here's my makeup bag. It is time to do it, but it's like almost 1 o'clock, so I'll be leaving here soon. So no makeup day it is, but thank you so much. So let's talk about first the panel interview. Now, the panel interview, when I interviewed for Dallas, it was super, super intimidating. First of all, I didn't know anything they would be asking me. So this is the panel interview. So this is when I did the panel interview for Dallas. Hey, sister. Oh, yay. Great. Congrats, Melda. That's exciting. Okay. Y'all writing me these comments, which is good. I'm going to get so distracted. This video going to be long. But, so the first thing in the panel interview was it can be intimidating. So you're going to be walking into a room that there are already people in. You're going to be walking into a room that you'll probably encounter officers in uniform. When I interviewed with Dallas, there were about 3 officers there in uniform. I think it was like their training officer, and then like a couple, like a communications officer, and then somebody else. I don't remember their exact titles, but there will be uniformed officers in the room, especially if you are in a big agency or at an agency whose 911 is run by the police department. So the agency that I worked for wasn't run by the police department, so there were no officers in that interview. But going back to the Dallas interview, there were officers there as well. Now, at this point in my interview, I had already filled out my like personal history statement, and what that is, it's about a lot of pages. So what they do is just basically go through your whole life, all your work history, like every job you've had. Now, I'm 33, and when I did this application, I think I was like 30, and I've been working since I was 14. So I had to list every job I had since I was 14 years old. I had to list my employer, like my supervisors. I don't remember those names. So it's important that if you are wanting to be a dispatcher, that you know you will have to fill out a personal history statement, which is going to ask you for all your past employers, all of your past addresses. So if you're somebody who is nomadic like me and have moved a lot, I have had to move a lot, like with my job, then you'll definitely need to have all those addresses and all that, etc., etc., etc. So in your panel interview, you all will talk about these things. And some of the questions that they ask you pertain to the job specifically, and some don't. So they ask you, like the basic work questions like, why should we hire you? What makes you stand out over other candidates? Things like that, the regular interview questions. And I won't really go into those because you know what those are. You know how to interview for a job, I hope, like, right? Okay. So One of the first questions that they asked me, because they looked at where I was from, they looked at my neighborhood, and I'm from an area in Dallas, like that's where I grew up. I grew up in an area in Dallas called Pleasant Grove, and it's pretty hood. That's a great word for it. It's pretty hood. The street that I grew up on is one of the um, I want to say like the top drug streets in the Dallas area. So they sell lots of drugs over in that area. And generally, when people are going over there, it's not, like to meet up with somebody and be like, hey, how you doing? It's usually to meet up with somebody, be like to score, to get some drugs or whatnot. So one of the things he said, the officer asked me is, how are you, or how will you handle getting a call from somebody that you know? um, Getting a call from a family member. If you got a call and it was, you noticed the address was at one of your relatives' house, how would you handle that, or what would you do? Now, in that case, is one of the things working with any law enforcement agency, especially as a dispatcher, you are privy to a lot of information, and they want to know that you are going to tell the truth. That they want to make sure that your integrity is high. Like, that is what they are looking for. They want people who are going to be honest with them. For example, when I was a dispatcher, I wasn't a dispatcher in Dallas, for the record. I got hired, but I did not accept the position. I accepted the position at another agency in the Metroplex, which, as I stated previously, I won't ever say the name of that agency, just out of respect for the stories that I tell. Um, so they were, what was I saying? Uh, it was, they were talking about, what I would do if I came across somebody who I knew. So, as I stated to you, I was an NCIC dispatcher, which we do like background investigations and stuff like that. And so I came across a name. The officer was, on my headset, and he was spelling out the name phonetically. Like if he was spelling my last name, he would say Boy, Robert, Young, Aaron, Nora, Tom. Not Aaron, but Adam. What the hell? Boy, Robert, Young, Adam, Nora, Tom. Like, that would be phonetically how you spell my last name. My first name would be Lincoln, Adam, Union, Robert, Adam. So as the name came through phonetically, and I'm looking at it like on my, it's called like syntax. So you have like a little code that you have to put in, and then like the officer's like number, and then the name. Like, there's just, it's like a little, almost like a web browser bar, and it gives commands to the computer so that it can know what it's looking up. So I put that in, and I looked at the name. I'm like, wait, I know that name. Like, seriously? And when I ran the return, on the driver's license in the state of Texas, like when you fill out for your driver's license or your ID, you have the option to put in like an emergency contact. And the name that I saw on the emergency contact was even more familiar. And at that moment, I had to let, I was actually training at that time. I had to let my trainer know, hey, I know who this person is. And so I don't want to run their name any further because of, how I know them. And so at that point, my trainer stepped in, and she, ran the name, or told me that it was okay to run the name because she was running it as well. So we ran the name again, and then we ran it out of another state to get like the criminal history. So in cases like that, it's important to really, it's very important to just be honest with them, just because if something happens and they kind of connect it, because this is like a state database, or a nationwide database, excuse me. The FBI is running this database, so if they see that you're running names of people who you might be Facebook friends with, or people that it just causes a lot of problems. And so you really don't want that. You can't just run people's name like, oh, my boyfriend, let me run his name. You can't do that. Anywho, all that to say, they want to know if you're going to be honest in that kind of a situation. I don't think you ever really know what you'll do until you actually have to do it. I've seen I've run names of people just because I was in the Metroplex, not in Dallas, but close to it. I've run names of people I went to school with, people I used to work with before. I mean, and you just have to, you just have to know that I can't tell that person, hey, I just ran your name. Stuff like that. You can't give them a heads up and things. So that kind of stuff is very important and very important to the department. Another thing is that they ask you is how do you handle stressful situations? For example, how would you handle a parent on the line screaming because their child is not breathing? What are you going to do to just really help that situation, to help keep that patient, not the patient, but help keep the caller calm and to help the patient? Because you don't just, your role is not to just keep the caller calm or to control the caller. Your role is also to help the patient, the reason why they call. So that's very important. They're going to ask you that, like, what would you do? I'll get to that question in a minute. They're going to ask you, what would you do, in that situation? And, it's okay to say, I don't know. Or it's okay to say, well, maybe not, I don't know. But it's okay to say, this in my mind right now, this is what I think I would do. But you never know until you're actually in that situation. However, there are, like in medical calls, there are protocols that you have to follow. And so you have to read those verbatim. So there is help for you. You're not just like out there high and dry, like, they don't just throw you to the wolves like they die. Somebody just asked me, do you have to be an EMT? No, you do not have to be an EMT to be a dispatcher. However, you do have to be an EMD in order to give emergency life-saving instructions over the phone. And what an EMD is an emergency medical dispatcher. And while you're in your training, I'm looking for my little card. But while you're in training, you will take that course. It is like 2 days, I think it was. I went to a nearby agency to do my certification, and it was pretty easy. I passed. That's how I say. I was certified through the International Academy of Emergency Dispatch, and my certification is almost expired. But this is what it looks like. This is like the big card. You also have a small one, but it's just saying that I'm trained or certified in emergency medical dispatch, can give instructions over the phone. This is really good to have, especially if you're wanting to transfer to another agency that uses that same system. It'll help you to not have to do like the class again. And then also, as your dispatcher, especially in the state of Texas, which is why you have to do the polygraph test, which we'll get to in a minute. You have to be licensed with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. And wait, let me make sure my number is wrong. Here is my card. It's called T-Code. Thank you so much. I didn't see the name, but I saw the comment, so thank you. This is my T-Code identification, just showing that I'm a telecommunicator operator. Okay? All right. So, and then the panel interview, they just ask you again regular interview questions like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? How would you describe yourself? What do you think is like your best quality? Just little things like that, because they're trying to get to know you. Yes, Marla, I do live in Texas. I live in the Dallas area of Texas. I don't live in Dallas, but I live on the border of Dallas. And then that's, as far as the panel interview, that's all I can think of as far as the questions. Oh, Houston, H-Town, what's up? My best friend lives in the Woodlands. And so, yes, I like Houston a little bit. It's too big. I don't want to live there, but I like it. So, yes. So then you have the polygraph. Now, the polygraph is usually done before you do your panel interview, or at least in my case, it has been. Well, actually, this last agency I just applied for, I did my polygraph first, and then I did my panel interview. So that was a little different. But in the in the polygraph, on the polygraph examination, they ask you a series of questions. They actually only ask you 6 questions, or 8, if I can remember correctly. But you fill out like this little questionnaire first. They ask you about your past drug use. So they want to know, have you ever used drugs? And then there's like a list of drugs. So, ranging from like all of them, like from weed all the way up to like PCP and like crack cocaine and like drugs I had never even heard of, like hash and like, I mean, like I said, it's a whole list of them. I wish I still had it so that I could show it to you all, but unfortunately, I probably still do have it in my email. I just don't want to look it up right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm giving you a little bit more than what I'm supposed to. Okay. Okay. So, but basically, they ask you about your drug use. They ask you if you've ever been a prostitute, like on the streets, or if you ever taken money for sex or any exchange for anything else. What else? They ask you if you've ever committed crimes against any person or persons, just like things like that. So they ask you like a lot of questions, and I think they ask you all the questions so that when you're in your actual polygraph, that gives you the opportunity to know that you've been like, clean and upfront with everything. Because when you get in there, now this is the doozy, okay? Like they don't play around on these things. Like you're in this like big room, it's not really that big, a small little office with your test administrator like right here next to you, but you're sitting in a chair, nothing like this chair I'm sitting in. This is a comfy chair. My chair was not comfy. Okay. You're sitting in a chair. It's like a wooden chair, like a school chair almost. There's like a butt pad in the chair. There are some like sensors on the arms of the chair. They put a sensor on a finger on your left hand, then another sensor on a finger on your right hand. They give you a blood pressure cuff that they put on you. They put a strap below your breast and then another strap above your breast. Then in front of you, there is like in front and up, like, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but above you is a camera. And then there's another camera like on the side of you, and then there's the administrator, like the test administrator. And once the polygraph exam starts, you have to be completely still. You have to put your hands like on the sides of the chair like this. You have to sit like this, and you cannot move. Like they don't even want you to wiggle your toes or your tongue, your feet, like nothing. You just have to sit completely still while he asks you the questions. And he'll say, you'll do a little practice test, and he'll say, how many codes are there? Oh, I'll get to that. 10 codes. That's a different video, Avanti, but we can talk about that. Okay. And then he'll start asking you questions. He'll say, there are a few questions that I want you to lie about. Like, what do you say? Have you ever lied to get yourself out of trouble? So just like 3 questions. Have you ever like broken a traffic law? And then something else. So 3 questions that the answer is yes to, but he wants you to say no to kind of get a read on when you're lying and when you're telling the truth. Then you'll start the test. He'll tell you, now it's time to start. I'm going to ask you these questions. I've already told you. He tells you what questions he's going to ask you. Like I said, it's only like 6 or 8 questions, not that many. One of the questions is, have you falsified any information on your like personal history statement, or have you falsified any information to get this job? You answer that question. Do you intend on being dishonest to pass this test? Then they ask you, like, have you ever caused any harm, like bodily harm to a person? Have you ever thought about, like, hurting somebody, like seriously. Like I know we all done thought about like, oh, I want to hurt this person. But they mean like, killing somebody or something like that. They ask you, other than the drugs that you listed on your personal history statement, have you used any other drugs? Did you omit anything to keep, to be, to pass this test? So it's just little things like that. And that was pretty much it. Like, it's not too bad. I always tell people, you just have to like focus. Like, I'm an anxious person anyway. Like, I'm always kind of nervous. And so it's not a test. It's not a test to test your nervousness. It's a test to determine if you have reactions to untruths. So basically, the test is just to determine like the reactions that your body has for each question that you answer. And it just kind of gives you like a baseline of the truth and the deception. So, anywho, I hope that made sense to you all. It's not really that hard. It's not really that bad. You just have to tell the truth in it. Now, if you lying, then that's something different. If you're not telling the truth, then, that's something different. You might have to watch another YouTube video to figure that out. Like, I don't know. I'm not giving out no kind of information like that on my channel. Oh, not doing it. But if you need to have that information, I'm sure there's some video on YouTube about that. Have at it. Somebody asked me about 10 codes. Like, I'm sure y'all have heard like 10-4 and 1096 and stuff like that. The agency that I worked for, we did not use 10 codes. Thank you, Jesus. So I don't know 10 codes. Only 10 code I know, we used one 10 code, and that was for like a mental subject. So when someone called, because we couldn't say like, you couldn't like type in your notes or say that somebody is acting crazy or, it's a crazy person, or like roaming down the street or whatnot. You can say there's somebody who is possibly 1096. So that, you just don't use some terminology. So yeah, I don't know 10 codes because we never had to use them. Some officers would say like 10-4 on the radio when they were done or whatever, over, I don't know. But we just didn't use 10 codes. I hope these people are not gonna come in here and mess up my video. Because I don't have time for that. Anyway, any other questions while we at it? Okay, good, because I don't know anymore. So that was that. That was the highly requested panel interview and polygraph polygraph questions video. Now, I think the last video in this hiring process that I'm going to do is, I know in one of my, in the job that I actually got, we did like a sit-in kind of thing where we actually went to the dispatch center, and we actually got to, put on a headset. We got to put on a headset and listen to some 911 calls as they came in live. So that was pretty cool. And so I'll tell y'all about my experience with my my practical, my sit-down practical interview or whatnot. And you don't have to like talk or anything like that or nothing, so it's all good. You'll definitely get some more 911 story times coming soon, probably sooner rather than later. I know later on today, probably like right after this video, I'm gonna do like a care.com story time, and I might be on a roll today and do a 911 story time too, but it probably I probably won't post it today since I'm doing this live video and whatnot. So thank you all so much for watching. I know it's been like 25 minutes. I'm at work just chilling, don't have nothing to do. I'm sure I could find something but I'm on my lunch break. That's right, I'm on my lunch break. Oh, Ebony. Okay, so with the polygraph, just chill. You know, I know it's hard to chill, but like if you have a good administrator, what they'll do is just talk to you before the test. That's something that I forgot to mention. Like both times, actually, I've taken three. All three times that I've taken polygraphs, they sit there with me and just kind of have like a casual little conversation. They talk to you about like the things that you like to do. They just kind of want to help you to calm down because they know that you're nervous. And so they try to do what they can do before the test actually starts to try to help you calm down. What I do, they tell you to focus on the wall, like find a little spot on the wall to focus on. And so what I did to just completely calm myself all the way down. And I'm pretty good at this. I mean, it's taken a long time, but what I do is I just find a little space on the wall, and I'm sitting here like this, and I just breathe like before the test, because you can't do that. You can't take deep breaths and stuff during the test. So before the test, like when they're talking to me, when he says find that spot and focus on it, just breathe, just relax. You just have to relax and you tell the truth. Like, and I know like that a lot of people smoke weed, and that's probably like one of the main things I think that most people are concerned about. But I think most agencies have like a 3 to 5 year kind of like if you haven't used, smoked in like 3 to 5 years, they, you know, then you good. But some agencies, like, it's like 10 years. Like every agency is different. So you really shouldn't be, too nervous. It's just, it's just one of those nerve-wracking things. So I definitely get it because I've been there. And that chick was scared in a mug all three times. Okay? Like, so it never gets easier. And twice I went to the same place. So, so the next video will be I just totally forgot. You have the practical, I'm making a note, practical and psychological. Y'all, because that psychological test, that right there, that'll weed you out. And that's like at the end, like that psych test, you be like, wait a minute, hold up. I don't want to do this. Like if you like me, and again, I'll go into more detail about it, but I have the hardest, I'm ADHD. I have ADHD. I have a diagnosis. I got medicine in my purse, okay? I got the shit. It's okay. I don't want it, but it is what it is, okay? So taking tests for me is hard than a mug to do because I can't, it's hard to sit there. And with those psychological tests, baby, it's like 5 or 6 of them, and they have like hundreds. Some of them have hundreds of questions. So, again, like I said, I'll do a video on that. Anyway, y'all, my lunch break almost over with. So let me go, and I will definitely chat with you all later, Gators. Bye. Have a good day, and enjoy whatever weather or whatever you got going on today. Y'all are welcome. Thank you, Ebony. Thanks for watching. And if y'all have any questions, email me or leave them leave them down in the comments below, since we can't send private messages no more, which is probably a good thing because I be getting some weird emails from some of these folks on here, and I be like, I'm glad I ain't got no DMs because that'd take too long. Anyway, bye y'all. Let me go.